Hi, darling. Welcome back. So, do men like promiscuous women? Do they like women who they consider easy? Or is it just confusion? Because there seems to be this dichotomy whereby in public, a lot of men claim to hate women who are promiscuous. They claim that they don't like women who are too easy or who give it up on the first night. But in private, in the dark corners of the night, in nightlife, some of these men are dealing with a woman who might be considered promiscuous. So, is it confusion? Are they lying? Or just lack sexual discipline? So, there's a guy on TikTok who started a series recently about his appreciation of ifebe. That's what he terms it. And I'm not saying women are ifebe, that's just the terminology that they're using. So I'm going to use the terminology that's being used in this conversation. I don't support name calling. I don't support this dehumanizing process of calling people ifebe, but this is the context. These are the words I will use for the conversation throughout because that is the wording that's being used. So this guy, Don Riz, started a conversation.
If you want to be happy in this life, marry a hoe. If you want to be happy in this life, marry a hoe. I am telling you, if happy. I guess that.
Right now, I'm 21. I'm not expecting myself to find my husband now. Because, dude, I'm 21. Let me, not favor in general, but let me, go out. I don't want to say explore. Let me, shut up. All the niggas saying, shut up. I'm not saying I'm going out, man. I'm every single nigga. Yeah. No, but let me, experience this nigga's personality. This nigga's personality.
Boys, you know me, I never ask anything from you. I never ask anything from you. So this is the first time ever asking anything. Boys, please tell Yanda to put me on her roster. Matter of fact, she can remove all the other Bruelas. I can play different characters. I can be Tabiso. I can be Caesar. I can be Peter. I can be all sorts of characters. I will do what Tony Diamond failed to do. Boys, go tell Yanda.
Let me get this straight. You met me outside. You met me in the miniskirt and the crop top. That's how you met me. Now you have me. And I'm confused when I'm still wearing the miniskirt and the crop top. And I'm confused when I'm still going outside. That's where you found me. If you wanted a nun, go to church.
Every day I come on this platform and I give you guys a lesson. I teach you. I give you homework. Some of you bring back the homework with the correct answers. And then we go and do an exam and you guys still fail. I don't understand this. I really don't understand it. We discussed that there are two types of Efebe. Efebe and Efebe. And this one, she's Efebe because she's telling you all the truth. She is Efebe and she's proud of it and she shows it and she lives by it. Why would you want her to all of a sudden be a nun when she's Efebe, dog?
There's a lot of comments on his profile and it might be satire, but this is actually something that is really happening in real life, whereby we see some men, not all men, some men marry women who might look a certain way or dress in a certain way. And then when they go out of their marriages, they date women who look like the complete opposite. So a lot of the men on the comments shared, it's becoming a movement in its own on his profile where they were sharing even memes. They've created their own memes that are in support of this ideology, of this idea of liking and talking about liking Efebe. And I do think that there's a lot of truth in there, not for every single human being, man or woman, but there is some truth in the fact that in public, a lot of men claim to not like promiscuous women, but in private, those are the women that they deal with when they're cheating on their good wives. Let's go through some of the comments. Smoothie Magiela says, nah, we're drawing the line at marrying. But spend money and vibe with the 403? Hell yeah. Tando, people will think you are playing, but this is actually true. Ifebe will make you the happiest man. Sia, why change Ifebe? Just enjoy. Don Riz responded, they are not meant to be changed. Say, Ifebe have my heart. They don't give us problems. In and out. Don responded, we love them so much, but these other guys want to deal with Ifebe. Zio, bro, these are the women we need. The last one by Abuti. Ifebe are to be enjoyed, not to be changed. So when it comes to this conversation, I want to analyze it from two perspectives. I want to analyze it from the context of leadership, the idea that men in the household are supposed to be leaders. And then I will also analyze it from nature to question this, to think about it, to unpack it. Let's go to the idea of men being leaders and the head of the family. That is an idea that is very popular in African culture. So here are the questions that I have for men who believe that a man is supposed to be a leader. If you are a leader, but your actions do not align with your values, you say you value purity, these men who are married or cheating on their girlfriends with side chicks and all that, I have a question. If you value the good woman, you value the pure woman in your words, the woman who doesn't sleep around, who doesn't have a huge past or a low body count, I understand. Some of you are going to use the key and lock analogy. Futhi ke ngiyanazi ke nina nizosebenzisa the lock and key analogy. The lock and key analogy is very shallow. It doesn't go deeper. It's a very shallow analogy. So a leader is someone you want to follow. So if I'm going on a camp, let's say we are in the forest, we're going on a camp, and our leader seems to going in opposite directions. Our leader seems to not have a clear direction of where he's going. Are we supposed to trust his leadership? One moment our leader is telling us, take a left. The next moment he's saying, take a right. And then take a left. He doesn't know where he's going. And you start thinking, I am lost here. This man is lost. You want people to follow you as the leader, but your direction is inconsistent. So where are the inconsistencies? You can't claim to want a woman who is pure, innocent, but you're promoting a lifestyle that is considered impure according to religious reasons. So if you believe that the women who are promiscuous, the women who sleep around are impure or dirty in your words, why are you playing in the mud? There was this comment by Smoothie Magiela. He says, we will spend money on Ifebe, but we won't marry them. You do see that logic in itself says, I will promote this lifestyle because a lot of girls will see that, okay, if I want to get a bag in this economy, it's easy. I get a quick lick if I go to the club, I go to these environments. You can't claim to hate and discourage ubufebe when you also are feeding it, you're helping it grow. The money you pour into it, the alcohol you pour into it, buying, paying into the lifestyle, and then going home to your wife. It's absolutely promoting the same lifestyle you wouldn't want your daughter to be in. If you had a daughter, would you want your daughter to be this archetype, the woman who you consider Ifebe? Would you want that to be the archetype? Most men would say no, they wouldn't want their daughter to be promiscuous. But they are building that lifestyle. They contribute to that lifestyle. Yes, women have to be accountable for their own actions. In also some women who engage in these transactional relationships, but you also should be accountable for the fact that you're feeding it. You're feeding the monster. You're giving it more food by putting money into that lifestyle. And then you get surprised when women, young girls, are influenced into getting into this lifestyle because it seems like an easy way to make money, to just change different men, to move from one rich guy to the next rich guy. You're promoting the lifestyle. At home, you might not want your daughter to do it, but outside, you are actively engaging and promoting that lifestyle. And if I want you to be a leader, why is my leader putting me in danger? So what do I mean by that? Why is my leader, if you are the leader in the house and your wife depends on you, you earn more than her maybe. You're making money, you're making resources, you're making a house. You've created a life for your girlfriend, for your children, for your family. Yet, you are willing to lose that life for a one-night stand. Let's talk about the fact that rape allegations are a real thing, whereby a guy meets a girl at a club, and if he doesn't pay her, the guy might not know that the girl is a working girl, and if he doesn't pay her, he might get sexual assault charges. There's a documentary that I will link below that talks about slay queens, a guy who shared his story, the same encounter of meeting girls, the so-called baddies, slay queen or ifebe, and then discovering that he was actually a lick. The girl was looking for money after the encounter with him. So you expect your wife to trust your leadership skills, to trust that the family will be safe, the family resources will be safe, when you are taking a risk that will end you in prison, potentially a risk that will make sure that your children might not see their father if you go to jail. Is that a leader that you would trust, a leader who's consistently making bad decisions? He might say one thing, I don't like ubufebe, I don't like promiscuity, I don't like sleeping around, people who sleep around, but he's actively participating in it. What do you mean? What do you mean? It's confusing. You can't claim to not like this thing, but then you go into it. The same thing, there's always shaming of these women online, but in private, those are the women that they go to. A woman must trust your leadership. When her leader could lead her astray, when her leader would literally help crumble her household, losing your resources, he loses his jobs after a criminal record, he loses his time with family. And that person is supposed to be trusted to be a good leader. A lot of guys, a lot of men want the position of a leader in a relationship. Maybe some men don't want that, but there's constant talks about men wanting to be leaders in relationships and being allowed to lead. But you're leading me into disaster. You're leading your girlfriend into disaster, into a train wreck. Your wife could potentially lose those things, that beautiful home that you've built, because of one decision. There's also this conversation about how natural it is for men to want to sleep around, and that it's not natural for women because women are more emotional creatures. But then I pose you the question, if God or the Creator designed men to be naturally promiscuous, for men to want to try different recipes, different food every day, to want to try different women throughout their lifetime, why are women not naturally inclined to react positively to a man cheating? Most women do not react positively. If it's so natural and it was created by the Creator or God for people to be like that, if men were created to be naturally like that, wouldn't your Creator create an equal counterpart, an equally yoked counterpart, a woman who's also naturally okay with your cheating. But it's never the case. There's a guy who highlighted this point very well.
Let's talk about the fact that it's believed that naturally men cheat and women should just accept that. Okay, whether you disagree with it or not, just keep an open mind. Let's have a conversation here. Just listen. So, but it's also interesting for me, okay, if it's naturally for a man to cheat, then we are saying it should be natural for a woman to accept it, right? It should be natural that it shouldn't hurt her so bad. If it hurt her so bad, she probably has the capacity to handle it, because we're talking about nature here, right? Am I correct? Sharp. But it gets very strange when I start to realize that a lot of women who start to have that social power, who have the economic power and their own sexual power, they can't stand it. Not all of women, but women who start to have their own autonomy, independence, and awareness of self and their threshold limit in terms of infidelity and cheating. You'll hear interesting things from this woman. Some women would say, you know what, really, when a person cheats on you, you never know what you would really do. Honestly, yeah. But you hear things like, I think if a man cheats me once, I'll give him a chance to work on it. You'll hear things like, he cheats, it's fine. But when he starts having babies, I'm gone. You hear things like, it's okay if he cheats, as long as he has money. As long as he gives me money, it's fine. Then you realize that this whole thing of cheating and infidelity, there's a part of it, maybe, if you want to argue and say, yeah, it's still natural. But there's a part of it that is not. There's part of it that is based on what society calls normal, or what if a group of people in society calls normal. It could be based on the social implications of it. It could be based on the economic power. It could be based on the social status, right? And the sexual power, which in a patriarchal society has been given to men. So by default, there's a lot of women who are forced to accept it, that it's natural. Some of these women don't even know that they are forced into it. They are made to believe that it's natural because it's a man who's in control through the patriarchal system, or who has been in control. But like I said, it gets very interesting when you see women who start to be independent socially, economically, and own their sexual power. It gets interesting when you see now there's women now who starts to have a threshold limit. Some, it goes as far as saying if you cheat once, she's gone. So I question, the whole narrative, infidelity and cheating for banna, it's just a natural thing for all men. I question it to some extent. Is it completely natural, or is it based on the social systems? Is it based on how, the conditioning and how we are wired, the influences, the culture, the way of living around, that plays factor into infidelity and cheating as well. Guys, let me know what you think. But just to say that it's natural, so by default, if it's natural, it means women should naturally have the capacity to accept it, to tolerate it, and it should be equal, that tolerance. And if again cheating and infidelity is natural, all men should want to cheat, like each and every single day, but that's not the case. So you realize that it's more complex than we think.
There's a clear inconsistency here. There's a clear mismatch. If women are supposed to accept cheating, why do some women react very badly to cheating? Yes, women cheat as well. I know 100% there are women who cheat as well. That's why the term e-febe exists, because of women who are considered promiscuous. But this conversation is focused on men. If it's natural, then women wouldn't have such a horrible reaction to it. Divorces wouldn't happen. Families wouldn't be destroyed by it. If it's so natural, it wouldn't cause so much pain. It would be a simple thing. And I know people will say women can deal with emotional pain better than men. That is not true. Pain is pain. We cannot quantify a human's pain. Pain is pain. Nobody wants to go through pain. And cheating is a source of pain for both men and women. So if it's natural, then it would be acceptable. But for a lot of people, it really hurts. You know what I'm realizing? I'm realizing that this goes back to the Madonna whore complex. The Madonna whore complex is basically a psychological theory that where men fall in love, they lose physical attraction. The women that they fall in love with, they can't see them as these sexual beings.
The Madonna whore complex is a psychological phenomenon that was introduced to the world of psychology in the early 1900s by Sigmund Freud. Essentially, what that means is when a man desires a woman physically or intimately, he doesn't view her as someone who's worth being with for the long run. Whereas when a man loves a woman, he doesn't desire her physically because she's generally not his type. If a man has this Madonna whore complex, this is exactly how his mind operates. The Madonna whore complex is when a man views women as two distinct polar opposites. On one end, he views women as either a Madonna, or on the other end, it's the exact opposite, which would be a whore. It's either one or the other. And we've all heard men say it before, oh, well, if she's not wifey material, then she's for the streets. That is the epitome of the Madonna whore complex. You either view women as one or the other. There's no middle ground. It's very black and white thinking for men who have the Madonna whore complex. Historically speaking, the Madonna was always depicted in literature and art as a woman who was very holy, very submissive, very ladylike, very virtuous, very much wifey material, whereas on the other end you had the whore. That was typically a woman who was sexually open, more expressive, and more so on the quote-unquote promiscuous side. So when Sigmund Freud talks about how such men cannot love if they desire, and if they desire they cannot love, he's specifically referring to men who have a very dichotomous way of thinking when it comes to viewing a woman. So if a man desires a woman physically and intimately, chances are he's probably not going to view her as someone who he wants to be with long term. On the other end, if he views her as long-term or quote-unquote wifey material, he doesn't really desire her because that's usually not the kind of woman who he's naturally inclined to being attracted to. This is precisely one of the reasons as to why a lot of good women get cheated on, because men have this Madonna whore complex. And in essence, they'll get with the woman who has good qualities because they know that they can benefit from these good qualities that the woman has. But inwardly, this woman is not his type. So he'll go out and cheat on her with other women that is his type. This is exactly why a lot of men will claim to want natural looking women. But then you look at their following and it's a bunch of women who have bodies done up, BBLs, they have boob jobs, the makeup, the extensions, the eyelashes, the weaves, everything. It's because they have the Madonna whore complex. They want to be with one woman simultaneously desiring another kind.
So, with this idea of the Madonna whole complex and just this idea of the fact that women can only be a good woman, a wifey material, or promiscuous, easy woman, in this dichotomy, I'm very curious about something. Are we surprised when good women decide that it is not worth it to be a good woman? When the girls decide that, what is the point of being a good woman? Yes, I get married, I get a house, but my husband still goes outside to use our resources, our money, to pay women outside the household. What is the reward to being a good woman to a man who thinks in this dichotomy, who thinks in these categories that there's wifey, then there is the woman for the streets? And I understand, to be a good person, you have to be a good person for yourself, for your own benefit, because sometimes there's no reward other than internal peace to being a good person. But then you also see in reality that the good women sometimes don't get the benefits of being good women. You still want to be outside with the girls you call baddies and hoes and all those bad words. But those are the women you spend your resources with, you have a fun time with. Your wife is at home, she has to cook, she has to clean, she has to take up the domestic work of the household while you are out having fun with other women. They see that there's no reward for being a good person. So you see where this takes us. It takes us to the direction of toxicity. Why? Some women are even talking about not wanting to get married because they believe that the risk is not worth the reward. There's a confusing thing. There's the private and the public. In private, the promiscuous women are the women that some of these men pursue. Whereas in public, they will want to talk about wanting a good woman, wanting a good wife. Where is the reward of being this good wife if all you get from it is pain, is cheating, maybe a bit of money and a house? And I don't think all men think like this 100%. People are very complex, but there is a large demographic within the African context who thinks like this. So I want us to think about this question. Do men like promiscuous women, or do men like good women? There has to be consistency. Are you a leader, or are you just confused? Is it natural? If it's natural, then why is there a mismatch in how women react to it? If it's natural, women should be able to react positively to it. It should be within the natural design. If it's natural for women to not react negatively to it, but that's not the case. They react negatively, they fight the other woman. There's divorce, there's family destruction. So, I want us to beg the question, do men like promiscuous women, or do men like good women? Are men supposed to be leaders? Is a man who supports this lifestyle supposed to be a good leader, a good example, someone worthy of being trusted by a good woman? Or is he just confused and a very bad leader? I want to hear your opinions in the comment section. And if you got to the end of this video, leave a fruit emoji in the comment section. And thank you for watching, darling. Bye-bye.